Hi there, I'm Molly Lambourn. I'm a fine artist. I'm from Kent. I've always drawn since I was a child, and I'm a self-taught artist. I didn't formally study art until my MA, which was when I really launched my practice. My art journey was unconventional. I had success in sixth form with a piece called Map of One Existence, and I had my work win an award, and it was nominated for some others. It showed in the Turner. It was an incredible time. And I was encouraged to pursue art at school. All my teachers across all subjects were really, really positive about it. But I felt pressure from those around me, perhaps at home, to pick a more sensible life choice. And I ended up going to work university on the Lloyd Scholars Programme, which doesn't exist now, but it basically provided internship opportunities in Lloyds Bank headquarters across the country. In my summers, it provided mentoring, funding during my course, financial incentives for doing well. It was truly incredible to be a part of it. And while I was at work, I was studying history and I volunteered a lot. I pushed myself in every way and I had a great time. But by my third year, my mental health had taken this all-time low. I realised that I needed to make, and I think for a lot of artists it's innate. You can't hold back. It's something impulsive that you have to do. And I think I felt devastated at the thought that I was ending university and I had the rest of my life ahead of me, and I wasn't doing the thing that I really cared about. So that year I decided to take three great steps to make me being an artist happen. First off, I got business funding from the university to start a creative brand. I then applied for my MA in fine art, which felt like a huge risk, having not really done a lot of art in terms of formal pieces in a few years. And then I did one final leap of faith, and that was to do something completely different. I applied to travel to India and volunteer over the summer. And those last few months set me up on my creative path and to where I am now. My life absolutely informs all of my work. I've focused on many issues, including domestic violence, which comes from conversations I had in my trip in India. I focus on mental health, which draws upon me being completely honest with myself and my work. Sometimes I use text and fill sketchbooks of my feelings. Most of these never make it to somewhere like Instagram or a gallery, but they are the platform for other works. All my work starts with a feeling. I draw upon lots of things, relationships, history, literature, and especially in my early work, the breakdown of my parents' relationship and my childhood. Most recently, I explored grief when I lost my grandfather, and losing him triggered the loss I felt for my grandmother when she died a lot earlier. I was a child then, and it only hit me recently what it really meant. All those conversations we could never have as adults. I think I want my art to help people, inspire people, and help people escape. I see my work as a way to process my emotions, my life, and sometimes difficult experiences. I hope it relates to others and shows them that there is always a way, a survival, and with grit we can get through anything. I am absolutely in love with Aubrey Beardsley's work. It is so decadent and deliciously dark. His use of detail is something I aspire to in my own work. I'm also a big fan of Yayoi Kusama. Her use of repetitive pattern to cope with trauma is so poignant. My work is also visually quite stunning, but it also has this dark and often quite sad reality behind it. And I'm really inspired by artists that sort of have the courage to use art to tell darker stories of their life and ones that really ask people to read between the lines, but also accept that you don't need to. You can just appreciate it for what it is on the surface. I've always followed Grayson Perry's work as well, and I'm just really inspired by the sort of multidisciplinary nature of his work. I'll never forget an exhibition I went to at the Turner Contemporary in Margate, and it was just room upon room of artwork. It was an enormous amount of ceramics that sort of went through his adolescence and questioning his sexuality and just the very nature of self, and also these brilliant drawings with huge amounts of detail, and then rooms with these absolutely enormous textiles that I probably couldn't even fit in the room in my house. It was just it was a real treat, and it's just, I'll never forget it. It's just inspired me. I think he never limits himself to one area, and I aspire to be that ambitious in my work. I aspire to not limit my drawing to just paper, but to use 3D and other means of working. I'm currently working on some large drawings and playing with surreal imagery, a lot of work with sort of putting faces on kind of interesting objects, and I draw a lot of women, but I'm beginning to think about drawing women in different ways, not sort of such an obvious way of doing it. And I try and draw when I feel sort of very strong emotions, and in that moment I really let the flow of the way I feel sort of dictate that what the piece will be. I could sort of determine in a few sort of strokes of a pencil what a piece will become, and then in quieter moments I just sort of add the detail to that work and finish off that initial very quick, perhaps 10 minutes that almost define the rest of the piece. As well as that, I have some ceramics I'm looking to begin. I'm really thinking a lot about Medusa, and my work before was previously looked a lot at Daphne as a figure, as she sort of in Metamorphosis she runs away into the forest and becomes a tree, and it's to escape rape, which is really horrible. And I love the idea of escaping into nature to get away from the busyness of the world. It's something Robert Frost looked at a lot in his poetry. But Medusa is my current interest, and I think she's a really misunderstood figure. There's some lovely ideas about her. There's a Carol Ann Duffy poem you can look at as well, and I think she's isolated, and I think I resonate with that in some way, and it's something I'm looking to explore. So there's that, and then also I've been playing with clay. So last time I was using clay, I had a 10-kilogram bag in the studio, and I ended up with this huge army of dolls, and I've bought another bag. And I'm going to be making characters again, and they'll be very similar to the drawings I'm doing. They'll be sort of these kind of distorted floral stalks and flowers, and they'll begin to have faces, and I think it will look very surreal. And I've got a real image in my head of what they'll begin to look like. And when I'm working, I do like to have a few things on the go, and it often means in shows I have a lovely blend of sort of 2D works and then their 3D realizations as well next to them. Being an artist is an absolute joy, and also definitely a very difficult thing to do. I think for myself and maybe many others, it's this idea of self-validation. What is it to be an artist, and what does success look like? For many people outside of the art world, and they don't always know what to say to you, they might say, "Oh, are you selling? And is selling an indicator of success, or is it something else? Is it people feeling an impact from your work? Is it getting communities involved in what you do? Is it just the sheer act of making?" There's a lot of worry, there's a lot of self-doubt, and I think, there's a lot of rejection in the art world. I don't tend to really get disheartened by it anymore, because I always think there's probably something better down the road that was meant to be. But yeah, there's a pressure, there's no clear path, and people, including myself, sort of get very, you can get very, wound up in that kind of thought process. I think the truth is, you're never there as an artist. You're never quite happy, and that's the best place you can be. That place where you're a bit uncomfortable. I think if you aren't feeling uncomfortable, you probably aren't growing, and you really just want to keep going. And even in those moments where you feel like no one is looking or cares about what you do, you keep going, and you enjoy the moments of success when they come, and you always celebrate them. And you enjoy those quieter moments in between. As long as you're doing it all for yourself and having fun, you can't really go too far wrong. I think I would tell myself to chill out. I've always been ambitious, but I really think it's okay to take time out and to look after yourself. I think hard work pays off in the end, and sometimes results aren't always immediate, but as long as you're working towards your goal every day, and you're persistent, I think you will always see some level of success with that. Yeah, absolutely. I love to try out new things. Last year in Stockholm, myself and 15 other artists all decided to put together a group installation, and it involved each artist decorating a mirror. So we all had these circular mirrors, all the same size, but the rule was we could do whatever we wanted with them. So some artists broke theirs, some put textiles on them, some, like myself, we drew on ours, and that was when I first discovered Posca pens, and it's been a real revelation. I use them all the time. They're so addictive. You can draw on anything with them, and the results just look amazing. So I had this beautiful sort of mirror in black, grey and white, and then some of my colleagues did these crazy, amazing, colourful ones where they covered the whole mirror. So yeah, we all did a real range of things. Some people painted on theirs, but it was interesting working on something different, and I often love to work on 3D surfaces because it's such a challenge to draw on them, and you often make mistakes. And I love making mistakes. I think they're fun, and you can incorporate them into the work, and it's part of the challenge. So I never fear about things going a bit wrong. Yeah, I usually like background noise, either music, or sometimes I listen to sitcoms, usually ones I've watched before. Um, just something to have in the background is quite nice. When I start new work, though, I prefer absolute silence and focus. But once I know where I'm going, I like a bit of noise. I often chat to friends on the phone while I draw as well. Yeah, definitely the curators at Jane Austen's house. They were amazing. I got onto a residency program with them, and all you had to do for this application was a very short statement about why you wanted to do the residency, and then just a link to your portfolio, nothing else. And I got offered the residency, and in our initial meeting, and we'd never spoken before, I'd never really told them about my art or why I do it, and they just spoke with so much passion. I hadn't explained a thing to them, and they really understood my work. They understood the storytelling within it, the darker messages behind my work, and what I was trying to do, with women in my work, and kind of implementing the importance of women's history, and talking about stories and perspectives that haven't been told. And they just understood all of that, and they wanted me to do that for Jane Austen. So it was just one of those amazing moments where someone looked at your work and they just really understood you. And yeah, I'll never forget that. I think that's a really interesting question, because I don't think artists should make artwork for the audience. So I also quite like that I have no power about what people will say about my work. I have heard some really sort of funny things over the years, but I guess if I did have to think of one thing, I think I would like people to just experience this sort of immersion in the work. And I'd really like it if they were just able to get away from reality, their day-to-day life stresses for a bit, and really just enjoy that moment of looking at the work. I think that. So you can follow me on Instagram at Molly Lambourn. And from there, you've got my link tree with my link to my portfolio, where you can get in touch if you want to collaborate, do an artist talk, interview, commission me to make work. Just get in touch, say hello, we'll have a chat. In terms of what I've got coming up this year, I've got probably my biggest exhibition will be at the Moore Galleries in London, with the Society of Women Artists, and I've got my piece Caught and Displayed going there, which I'm very excited about. I've never shown there, and I know it's a really prestigious gallery, so yeah, it's going to be really good. Otherwise, find me on Instagram, say hello, and all the latest will be on there.